Have you ever had that feeling like history's holding back, maybe hiding a kind of blueprint for what's coming next?
Mm.
We hear the usual advice, save more, invest wisely, but, what if that misses the big picture? These huge historical currents shaping our financial future.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, we're diving into Ray Dalio's big work, Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order.
It's a fascinating read.
It is. And while Dalio's looking at, whole empires and nations,
Hmm.
our mission here is different. We want to pull out the really key, actionable stuff that you can use for your own finances, your own preparedness.
Right.
How can understanding these huge, big cycles make you genuinely more resilient, more secure?
It's such a critical way to look at things. Dalio's book, it's not just a history lesson. It's really a masterclass in spotting patterns.
Yeah.
He takes these massive historical events, think the U.S. running out of gold back in 71, or these epic cycles of empires rising and falling, and he boils them down to these universal principles. But our focus today, it isn't just abstract history. We're drilling down, what are the most impactful points? And how do they apply to you, the average person? The goal is to empower you, help you understand these huge forces.
And crucially,
Prepare your finances. So you're not caught completely off guard by whatever might be coming down the line.
okay, so Dalio hits us with this pretty bold statement right away. The times ahead will be radically different, though similar to many times in history.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically saying, brace for big change, but hey, we've seen this movie before, just with the different actors. What's the immediate trap people fall into with that?
The big trap is just assuming the future will be, well, a slightly modified version of the recent past.
Yeah, makes sense.
People just draw lines from what they know, their own lifetime. Dalio points out that the really big boom periods and the really big bust periods come along about once in a lifetime.
Okay.
Because they're so rare, they feel like a total shock when they happen. Most people, even big institutions, they just don't look back far enough to see these repeating patterns.
Like his example of his father's generation.
Exactly. They lived through the Great Depression, World War II, and then they just couldn't wrap their heads around the post-war boom.
So they hesitated to invest. Missed out.
Totally missed out. And the flip side is true, too. If all you've known are booms, maybe fueled by debt, the idea of a real depression seems, well, implausible, as Dalio puts it.
It really shows how our own little slice of history can kind of blind us, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Our experiences create these biases. And Dalio argues these cycles aren't really driven by, say, technology or specific leaders.
What drives them then?
It's unchanging human nature. He says it so vividly. Practically the only things that change are the clothes, the languages, and the technologies. But those core emotions, fear, greed, jealousy, they're constant. They're the engine driving these cycles. Boom, bust, peace, conflict, again and again.
And it's not just about nations. He mentions empires lasting roughly 250 years.
Yeah, with big economic and debt cycles inside that every 50 to 100 years.
So for you listening, this isn't about having a crystal ball.
Not at all.
It's about being ready for the kinds of shifts that history shows us happen again and again. The economic seasons, you could say. Building real resilience, whatever the specifics look like. Okay, so if these cycles are driven by these timeless forces, what makes someone or you financially strong? Dalio lays out 18 determinants for empires. Let's pull out the ones most relevant for personal financial health. Human capital seems huge for him.
It's probably the most fundamental. What's really striking is his belief that the way people are with themselves and others is the most important determinant.
What does that mean practically?
It means things like having high standards of behavior, self-discipline, basic civility, and importantly, being flexible and resilient.
Okay.
For you personally, this translates directly into building your human capital, your skills, your character, your ability to actually earn an income.
So the insight is?
The insight is your ability to learn, adapt, and produce value. That's your most sustainable asset. Really, it's the one thing that can't just vanish or be inflated away.
I get why Dalio stresses earning more than you spend, that self-sufficient plus idea. Sounds great. But for someone who's maybe had a setback, that feels far off. Does he talk about how to even start?
He does, and it starts with really looking honestly at where you are. Self-sufficient plus just means income beats outgo, so you can build reserves.
Incrementally.
Exactly. Incrementally. Figure out your absolute essentials. Work to cover those first with your human capital. Then aim for even a tiny surplus. Just a little bit.
because unlike inherited money...
Right, unlike assets you can just spend down, your ability to earn can last forever if you keep developing it. Think about Musk or Jobs. They didn't start rich.
Yeah.
But their human capital, their drive and ideas let them build huge things, beat companies swimming in cash. That ability to produce, that's your core strength.
The valuing your own productive power above everything else.
That's the heart of it. And another key thing he points to is choosing long-term well-being over short-term well-being.
The classic delayed gratification.
Exactly. The insight here is that every time you grab that instant reward, you might be taking out a loan against your future financial security.
Like maxing out credit cards for a fancy trip now.
Perfect example. Fun today, sure. But you're borrowing from future you. You're locking up future earnings to pay for past fun. That limits your options later. That's what Dalio means by pulling the future into the present. It just exaggerates the highs and lows of the cycle.
And that connects straight to saving and investing, right? If you're always borrowing from tomorrow, you can't build for it.
Precisely. Any successful person, or country for that matter, must earn an amount that is at least equal to what it spends. Simple as that.
But also, how you spend matters.
Hugely. Spending money on investment and infrastructure rather than on consumption tends to lead to greater productivity. For you, that means saving consistently, yes, but also investing that money wisely, building assets that work for you.
So the insight is, saving and investing aren't just good habits.
No. Dalio sees them as strategic moves, fueling your future productivity, your future standard of living. And one more thing, openness. Just like empires thrive by being open to the best thinking, so do individuals. Keep learning, keep adapting. That's key for your own productivity and higher living standards. It's constant evolution.
Okay, now, thinking about building that personal strength, Dalio really makes us look hard at the basics, money and credit. He says they aren't just tools.
No, they're dynamic forces. Always moving, always shaping your reality.
Let's really unpack that. How do they flow and what's the impact on you?
This is so fundamental. Dalio flat out says money and credit are the biggest influences on how wealth and power rise and decline. If you don't get them, you can't understand what's coming at you.
And that phrase, debt eats equity, it sounds brutal.
It is. It's more than just accounting. He means debt has this relentless drive. It must be paid.
Or else
it systematically starts consuming your assets, eating away at your net worth until, you're just left with the debts and nothing solid underneath.
That's a scary thought. Losing what you've built up. What about money printing? We hear that term thrown around so much. How does Dalio frame it?
Right. Well, money and credit aren't fixed. That's key. Central banks can easily create more, especially, he notes, to relieve a crisis.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting, based on his own painful lesson. He talks about 1971 when the U.S. basically defaulted on its promise to back dollars with gold.
Nixon closing the gold window.
Exactly. Nixon makes the announcement, and what happens? Stocks actually went up, which confused a lot of people who didn't grasp devaluation.
So what was Dalio's big takeaway?
His insight from 71 was crucial. When central banks print a lot of money, buy stocks, gold, and commodities because their value will rise and the value of paper money will fall. It's about the relative shift in value.
So printing money might ease debt pain short term.
But it erodes the value of the money itself. That's the cost.
And that leads to the risk of fiat money, right?
Yeah.
Money not backed by anything physical.
Precisely. When there's no anchor, like gold, central banks can just keep printing, which leads to debasement. Your money buys less and less.
And potentially that scary scenario, inflationary depression.
Yeah, imagine that. Prices are soaring, making life expensive, your savings are shrinking, but the actual economy is weak. No jobs, no growth. Dalio warns this double whammy needs a whole different kind of preparation than just a normal recession or simple inflation.
Right.
It's monetary inflation plus weak real demand.
That's a grim picture.
Yeah.
Now, Dalio also talks about two kinds of debt cycles. There's the short-term one.
Right, the business cycle. Maybe 8 years or so, give or take.
But then there's this much bigger wave, the long-term debt cycle.
Yeah.
How do these fit together, and why is that long one so important for us personally?
The long-term cycle is the big one, 50 to 75 years maybe. It contains lots of those shorter cycles within it.
Okay.
But these massive long-term shifts, they happen only once in a lifetime. And that's why they do a lot of harm. People just haven't experienced anything like it before. Their whole life has been just one phase of that huge cycle.
And he notes the current one started
around 1945,
Yeah.
after World War II. So think about it. We're pretty deep into this current long-term cycle, which suggests, well, the next major turn might be closer than we think.
So what's the key message for you listening? Beware the illusion of changes in wealth.
That's a great insight.
When governments print money, yeah, your stocks might go up, your house price might go up in those weaker dollars. Your calculated wealth looks higher on paper, but your actual wealth, what you own, what it can buy, hasn't fundamentally increased. You might have more dollars, but each dollar buys less. It's critical to see that difference.
Okay, so given these huge forces, the cycles, the money dynamics, how does Dalio say we should actually navigate all this? Practically. He offers specific principles based on his own wins and losses. What's the core idea?
His core idea is simple but profound. Knowing how to deal with what I don't know.
Accepting uncertainty. Exactly. The future's always fuzzy. So preparedness isn't about prediction, it's about acknowledging you don't know it all. And his first rule, the most important one, eliminate intolerable worst-case scenarios. Basically, job one is not getting knocked out of the game.
That sounds powerful. Didn't he learn that from a really tough personal experience back in the early 80s?
He absolutely did. 1982, he made this massive, very public wrong bet on the economy. Huge mistake. Nearly bankrupted his firm, Bridgewater.
Wow.
That forced him to face the absolute worst outcomes. He went home, figured out his bare minimum living costs, food, shelter, basics, and then he literally put enough money aside, safe, to cover that even if not another dime came in. Ever. He calls that his end-of-the-world portfolio.
So the insight for us is,
develop your own end-of-the-world portfolio, a safety net. Enough to cover your worst-case scenarios. Maybe it's a job loss, a health crisis, a market crash, whatever feels intolerable to you. He found doing this was actually liberating and exciting.
how so?
Because once you know your absolute downside is covered, it gives you safety, freedom, and ability to go for great results with the rest. You build that resilient foundation first.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so survive the worst. What's principle number 2?
Number 2 is diversify well. Simple idea, huge impact. Dalio says, if I have a bunch of bets that are attractive but unrelated, I can reduce my risk by up to 80% without reducing my upside at all.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And he says it's not just for investing, it's a timeless, good life strategy. He even brings up that Chinese saying, a smart rabbit has 3 burrows.
Multiple escape routes.
Yeah, multiple safe places if danger hits. The insight. Diversify everything. Investments, yes, but also skills, income sources, maybe even relationships and where you live. It's your best hedge against the unpredictable.
Great advice. And number 3 loops back to something we discussed earlier.
It does. Deferred gratification. The simple idea. Put deferred gratification ahead of immediate gratification so you will be better off in the future.
Resisting the urge now for a better tomorrow.
Right. The insight is that resisting isn't just about discipline. It's a strategic investment in your future resilience. It stops you creating weaknesses, especially through debt. His fourth is also interesting. Triangulate among the smartest people possible.
Don't go it alone.
Never. Dalio built his whole company on this. Constantly seek out smart people, people who disagree with you even. Learn from them, test your ideas, refine your understanding of the world.
And the 5th principle, it seems a bit more, maybe, optimistic, despite all the cycles.
It is, and it's a really important counterbalance. Trust and invest in humanity's adaptability. Meaning, yes, history is full of booms and busts, creation and destruction, but underneath it all, there's this undeniable upward trend. Humans invent, adapt, solve problems, improve things over the long haul.
So the insight is?
The insight is betting on that long-term progress, on innovation, ingenuity, our collective ability to figure things out. That's generally a smart bet for the very long term, despite the bumps along the way.
Wow, what a journey through Dalio's thinking. We've covered these huge historical cycles, what makes individuals financially strong, the tricky dynamics of money and debt.
Yeah.
And the key thing is, these aren't just abstract ideas for economists. These are principles for your financial resilience.
Yeah.
Helping you make smarter choices in this constantly changing world.
Right. Helping you navigate the currents instead of just being swept along.
The real goal here, I think, is to shift how you see things. Instead of being shocked by these once-in-a-lifetime events,
you start seeing them as patterns, recurring themes based on human nature and economic fundamentals.
And hopefully these insights give you the power to make better decisions about savings, investments, your overall financial life. It's about being prepared, not predicting the future.
Exactly. Preparedness over prediction.
Ray Dalio tells us. Be like that smart rabbit with 3 burrows.
So maybe the question to leave you with is, what steps are you taking starting today to build and diversify your burrows, your financial safe spots? So you're ready, whatever twists and turns these big world cycles take next. Something to definitely think